George has got a question here saying, is there a simple way to reverse an entry when my exit triggers? Alright, yeah, so let me kind of explain how getting information on an exit works. Alright, so I guess I'll kind of have to lay some groundwork here on how NinjaTrader works, and I think this is, in my experience, this is pretty much kind of standard on all charting platforms. As you guys are aware, right, you have indicators, which BloodHound falls into the indicator category, and then you have strategies, right, which Raven falls into the strategy category. Now indicators are good at doing all the mathematical formulas and advanced logic and stuff. And the primary goal of a strategy is to execute your trades, right? So a strategy is primarily there to manage your trades. That's where in the strategies is the only place you can say, put me in the market or stop me out of the market. And also you get other data as well, such as like your profit and loss for that trade, or your daily profit and loss, any kind of data relating to trading. Now the data that is created in the strategy, and I'll just use profit and loss as one of the simple ones, is not transferable back to an indicator. So it's a one-way street. So data from an indicator can pass forward to a strategy, but information from a strategy cannot be passed backwards to an indicator. So George, so just to kind of lay the groundwork, that BloodHound is not able to know when an exit triggered from the strategy. So that information of knowing when an exit was triggered in the strategy or in Raven stays in Raven. It can't be passed back to BloodHound. So with Raven, what your choice is in order to reverse a well, essentially, in order to reverse, you need to make sure that enter only when flat is set to false. So when this is false, that allows reversals. If we set it to true, then enter only when flat true, well, then we have to wait until we're flat. Raven has to wait until you're flat before it can enter. So by default, this is set to false. So this allows reversals automatically, right? So if your entry logic, for example, let's kind of take a look at this chart here. As to say we're long during the long signals, right? During the green long signals, and then Raven gets this red short signal, into the entry logic, then Raven would reverse you automatically as long as this is set to false. Hopefully, I think that will do it for you. If your trading rules are a little more complex where you don't always reverse, then I can help you out in the support via support email. Normally what I would say is that, I guess, make sure the signal that you want to reverse when you have an exit, make sure that's an entry signal. And as long as that's an entry signal at the same time that BloodHound is firing off an exit. So it sounds like, George, it sounds like you're using both entry logic and exit logic since you have an exit trigger. So I would say also, the same logic that you're using in your exit logic, also build that into your entry logic and leave this as flat, and then Raven will reverse you automatically. So keep in mind the exit logics. So let me kind of give an example. So if you're building a simple crossover system. You know, a crossover system so that you're always in the market, right? Every time two moving averages cross over, you're always in the market, right? That uses only an entry logic. There's no exit logic needed for a simple crossover system that keeps you always in the market. You just use an entry logic and keep this as flat. And then Raven will just constantly reverse your open position. All right. So George, I hope that answers your question. And I see that a bunch more questions came in here, so good. Next question is Bercy. Alright, Bercy's asking, Zach, say I want to have the signal on 6E, but execute the trade on the M6E, so the micro 6E. How would I do that? You know, I think it could be done. However, I would be kind of leery of doing this. So, Bercy, you would have to have Raven running on the M6E. Let's see. So, Bercy, this would get pretty tricky if this would work. So you definitely, at least the way I know, you know, I would also suggest that you ask NinjaTrader if there's another way that you could do this. You know, I'd ask NinjaTrader if they have a way, you know, that you can submit your orders to the M6E while running Raven or your strategy on the 6E. You know, I have not tried to do that, and I have not heard of being able to do that, but maybe NinjaTrader has a way to do that. Or maybe your broker might have a way to change your orders, you know, at the broker's servers. So the only way I can think of doing this, and I would be very leery of doing this, you know, I'd make sure you do a lot of testing on live market data to make sure that, you know, there's no, you don't have any kind of weird issues. You know, you'll have to put Raven on the M6E, and then here comes the tricky part. So in BloodHound, what you would have to do is, let's see, bar direction. Let me give an example here. Alright, yeah, so maybe this here is an example I could think I can use. So in the comparison solver, right, you can see I've got the Heiken Ashi, and so what I would have to do is scroll down to SI Chameleon, and I'm going to nest. What you'd have to do is you're going to have to nest Chameleon into every single indicator that you're using, and then in Chameleon, right, you have this use alternate instrument. Now we stretch this out, right? This use alternate instrument or time frame, and so I'll have to set that true. And oops, hold on, I'm going to click OK, get this out of the way. Alright, so this is a 3-minute chart. So let me go back into Chameleon here. Right, and I'll have to set this to a 3-minute, and I will have to use this alternate instrument. And let's see, yeah, there we go. So luckily it defaulted to the 6E as my alternate instrument. So there, so you see so Chameleon is going to allow me to feed the 6E on a 3-minute chart into the Heikin-Ashi. So you can do that with all of your indicators. You know, and of course, so I had to switch over this Heikin-Ashi as well. And you know, I guess just to give another example, if I was using a slope solver here, you know, this SMA, I would have to once again come down to Chameleon, nest Chameleon in here into my SMA that I'm using. All right, use the alternate instrument, and there, use the feed the 6E, switch this over to a 3-minute chart of the 6E, and I have to make sure I'm using the correct plot, which, yeah, so we want, typically, right, you're feeding the closing price into your indicators. So feed the closing price into the SMA, and there, I'm done with that. And let me go back to the Heikin-Ashi here. Once again, you know, maybe some indicators may not work because the Heikin-Ashi, I believe the Heikin-Ashi uses all 4 price points, which, let's see, which Chameleon only allows you to feed, you know, one price data into an indicator, whereas the Heikin-Ashi is kind of a, you know, a unique. It's not really an indicator, as you guys know. So it may not work with the Heikin-Ashi, but you know, this would work with standard indicators. And so that's what I would suggest. So yeah, I'd be very cautious of doing that. But test it out for, you know, a while on live data. First, I would suggest, you know, talking with your broker and seeing if they have a way, you know, that if you submitted an order on the 6E, that they could switch it to the M6E at the broker's server side. That would be the optimal way. Or see if ask NinjaTrader if they have a way to change the instrument in NinjaTrader. Looks like that answered Burr C's question. All right. Yeah, so Bill's got a question. What is the best way to code trade entries with the SiBackTestRenko bar to avoid the entry being the false open that gets printed? If wave mode is off, will backtest be accurate? Correct, Bill. Yes, that's why we have well, yeah, that's the purpose of the BacktestRenko, and you know, I thought it would just be kind of nice to have 2 different modes in it, because with wave mode on, it kind of matches the ProRenko that so many people like, although the formula for closing the bar is not the same between the ProRenko and the BacktestRenko. So there is a subtle difference. So I'll switch both of these over to the different bar types here. So let's see, yeah, this has the, let's remove the Heikin-Ashi there, and I'll remove that. put this one on the ProRenko, and yeah, I'll just do a 5-1. And I'll put this one on the BackTestRenko, and let's see, let's set this as well to a 5-1. And the reversal, let's see, to match the ProRenko, I'll put a 10 reversal on here. And let's see, we're on the same, yep, let's see. Good, the instruments are the same, and kind of looks like, yeah, kind of looks like we have the same section, same price data on here, same time on the charts. Let me get rid of that white SMA. There we go. So there's a subtle difference in the calculation between the ProRenko and the BackTestRenko. I know this is kind of getting a little off topic there, oops, yeah, it looks like I have an older version installed here because this says True Renko. Yours will say BackTestRenko. But you notice the tails here at the reversal bar. You notice this tail matches the closing price, whereas on the ProRenko the tail is always one tick higher than the closing price, right, on these reversal bars. And that's because the ProRenko waits for price to move one tick higher to close the bar. So price actually has to move up beyond the close of the bar before the bar actually closes. Whereas the BackTestRenko, as soon as price touches where the bar is going to close, then the bar closes and the new bar will open. So now, Bill, to get to your question here, yeah, so you know, with wave mode on, what I was kind of alluding is that, you know, it looks a lot like the ProRenko, but for backtesting you need to turn that wave mode off. And so now you can see we're getting the true opening price of the bar. So you can see some of these bars, you know, don't have any body to them. It's just, you know, it's just a flat one tick value. And let me thicken up the body here so you can see that. There you go. So you can see, you know, so you can kind of identify when periods when price is moving quickly, right? So you kind of get these three bars that have no body, so that kind of tells you, you know, price is kind of whipped up there and moved pretty quickly, raced on up, you know. Then you had a little consolidation in here, and then price boop, popped up real quickly, another, you know, 4 ticks. But anyways, Bill, to answer your question, this is how you want to backtest, because this is showing you the true opening price. So there, Bill, I think I answered your last question. Yes, you do need to turn wave mode off when you're backtesting. All right, because clearly, if you have wave mode on, you're not getting the correct opening price. So, all right, good. So it looks like that took care of Bill's question. And let's move on to Steve. All right, so Steve's question is ATM strategies and strategy performance backtest historical. Do we have to forward test to show trade history when using ATM trade management? Yes, in a way. half of it, yes. So Steve, this is in NinjaTrader's help documentation. So in their help documentation on ATMs, right? So I'm going to open up there. Oops. Let's go to help and do a little search for ATM. Let's see. I think somewhere in their help documentation it tells you how to backtest, or it tells you the limitations of ATMs. So there's two ways that you can backtest an ATM. So one way is to run it forward, as your question had said, or the other way, if you want to backtest it, then the other way is you can connect to Market Replay. You can use Market Replay to backtest your ATMs. So Steve, if you're not familiar with Market Replay, once again, you can look that up in the help documentation, and it'll show you how to use Market Replay. And Ninja may even have a video as well, giving you instructions on how to use the Market Replay data. So that Market Replay data is the only way that you can backtest an ATM. Otherwise, you have to forward test it on live data. Alright, so Steve's, I guess, got a second part to his ATM question. So, is there a good way to accomplish ATM strategy function with BloodHound logic? Steve, could you kind of expand upon that? See, to me, your question's a little subjective. What do you mean by is there a good way to accomplish ATM strategy function? And I guess let me kind of show you that ATMs don't run in BloodHound. Technically ATMs run in Raven. So in order to run an ATM, right, that can only be done in Raven, because an ATM, right, is managing trades, right? So it has to run inside of a strategy, and so you can only, oops, let's see, I already have Raven on here, so let's take a look at this. Oh, that's right, I had this left over from a couple of workshops ago. So I have this managed trade using, right, normally it's set to default. So default is the default setting, so normally you see the profit target and stop loss. So if we switch this over to ATM, then that allows you to put your ATM name in there. Of course, you have to make sure you get it spelled exactly correct, and I would suggest don't use any special characters like a hyphen or an underscore, or a star. I suggest don't use any of those special characters. Let's see, so it looks like Steven is expanding upon his question there. So at 4 tick trail by 4 at 10 ticks, follow stop by 6, etc. Oh, so Steve, are you trying to, I think Steve's trying to find a way to mimic an ATM stop management in Raven so that you don't have to run an ATM. No, no, there isn't, and that's because, let's see, no, there just isn't, because I guess kind of the way I explained how strategies and the way in the beginning. Let me close this out. The way I started off the workshop, I was kind of explaining how information from an indicator and strategy is a one-way street. Yeah, because of that, there really is no way for BloodHound to try and mimic an ATM's logic. And an ATM's logic is far more advanced than Raven's logic. So if I go back into Raven, as you guys know, right, Raven just has a a simple profit target and stop loss, and whereas an ATM allows you up to 3 different profit targets and 3 different stop losses. So you I guess you could, no, you just couldn't, because Raven only submits 1 profit target at a time and 1 stop loss at a time. So Raven wouldn't be able to mimic 2 or 3 different stop losses at the same time. Yeah, so really running an ATM, yeah, running an ATM is really the only way to backtest your ATM correctly. Falcon, we kind of plan on Falcon having that capability. Once we're finished rolling it out, it's definitely going to be a process building that into Falcon. But that's kind of our ultimate hopes for Falcon, is to have that advanced stop strategy management, right? So. And so, yeah, so Steve is asking, could we use the exit logic to manage like an ATM? Well, once again, only with 1 stop loss. So once again, because an ATM allows you to have 3 separate stop losses and profit targets, Raven can only do 1 stop loss. So if you did kind of build your stop logic into an exit template, it would stop out your whole order. It wouldn't just stop you out of 1 contract, which is what you could do using an ATM. Right, an ATM, if you put 3 contracts on, your ATM can manage all 3 contracts with a different stop loss. Whereas Raven, if you had an exit logic, Raven would just stop all 3 contracts out at once. But so if you wanted to if you have an ATM that only uses 1 contract and 1 stop loss, you could use the exit logic. However, you would probably have to write your own custom indicator that would trail price. So let me kind of, yeah, here's a visual example, like this indicator here. That's right, the TS super trend. Right, some people like to use this. Right, so this one's just using ATR mode. Right, so some people like to use this TS super trend as their trailing stop. So you'd have to have a custom written indicator that would trail, that would mimic your ATM's logic as far as trailing price and trailing your stop. Where your stop price would be, you'd have to write your own custom indicator in order to have Raven kind of mimic your ATM. So I guess technically it is possible with one contract and a custom written indicator that will trail price exactly how your ATM would trail price. So while it is technically possible, Steve, it gets really complicated. So I'd say your best bet is just to use the market replay data, and I know it can be agonizing downloading all that data, but you only have to download it once. That's the good news. So alright, so Steve is asking, so there is no BloodHound logic to trail price. No, Steve, because that, once again, this trailing stuff is a mathematical formula, right? So that's done by indicators, right? So BloodHound, BloodHound kind of creates the conditions based on indicators. So you need the indicator to do the mathematical formula of figuring out where your stop price would be. Let's see. Gerard has a suggestion here. He's saying that Indicator Warehouse has a trade manager strategy that trails stops. Would this work with Raven? A strategy driving a strategy. Let's see. No. So yeah. So Gerard, if their trade manager strategy truly is a strategy, if it only shows up, if it only shows up in the strategy window, then no, a strategy can't be plugged into a strategy. Only indicators can be plugged into a strategy. Alright, so Andrew is asking, it sounds like he's kind of on the same subject here. Andrew is asking, can I have SI Raven immediately place an order in the direction of the strategy once I enable it? So Andrew, did I answer that question for you already? I got the same question in emailed in, and so yes, that is a NinjaTrader capability. That is a NinjaTrader capability. So I believe, let me see if I can remember where I found that. Let's see, I think options. It's not. That's. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so in the options under strategies, and then NinjaScript. I believe this setting right here will submit your order immediately. So, right, immediately submit live working historical orders. So, I believe that is what you want. Steve's got another one here. Seemed like that could be a way to accomplish with Chameleon and BloodHound logic. Just an idea. Yeah, well, maybe. I can't really think of one. Because what Chameleon does, Chameleon's not really trailing price. It kind of maybe look like it's trailing price. This TS Super Trend is, I'd say, is kind of a better, price trailing indicator, for setting stops, whereas Chameleon, let me throw it back on here. If I set this look back to, I'll set it to 4, And let's see, yeah, we got our low bounds and high bounds. All right. Let's see how that looks. So what Chameleon is doing, right, so the green lines here are Chameleon, and they're just showing you the price, the high price, you know, the highest high going back for, looking back 4 bars. That's all it's capable of doing. You know, it doesn't have any kind of advanced ATM, you know, logic, you know, where your ATM, the ATM, it was designed so that you could, so that the further you go into profit, you know, so if you're short here, the further, you know, the further price moves down in your direction, in the direction of your trade, and you're making more and more money, then ATMs allow you to tighten that stop more and more and more, you know, to lock in more of the profits. Whereas Chameleon is just a fixed, it's just a fixed kind of a price set distance. Now maybe you know, maybe Steve, take a look into this TS Super Trend. You know, it's got several different modes here. Which I have no idea what they do. Maybe that can somehow mimic your ATM stop strategy a little better. Oh, here, I missed one. Andrew was asking, can I include a start time and stop time with Raven? No, not with Raven. But you can build that into BloodHound's logic. So let me pull up Raven real quick. You know, so Raven doesn't have any start and stop time filters, you know, built into the parameters here. But what we can do is, let's see. So this simple reversal. Let's take a look at. Yeah, what I'll do is modify this strategy here. All right, just getting the bars situated a little better so they're not so thick. All right, so let's take a look at. You know, I have this simple reversal logic template on here, and here we go. This one. And so the way you want to build, you know, start and stop times in is to use this time session solver. And what I'll do, which the way you get this to work, is you want to have a AND node, you know, right before the result node. So you use the time session solver, connect it into an AND node that's right in front of your result node. So that's how you want to use it. And so let's kind of switch this over to, you know, a session template that's already built. So how about like the NYMEX? Let's see, we're on the 6E. There we go. So how about the CME FX futures regular trading hours? And so that's from 7:20 to market close at 2 Central Time. All right, so this is Central Time, so that's going to be a 1-hour difference for me. So that means on my chart, I should see the signals will start at 8:20 and end at 3 p.m. All right, so click OK. And yeah, I'm sorry. I did my math backwards. It's going to start at 6:20. Is it 6:20 my time? I believe. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, 6:20 my time. 1 o'clock p.m. Let's see. Here, let me disconnect. Oh. I already had a time session solver here connected up. Let me disconnect this guy. Alright. No wonder it looked wrong. Yeah, here we go. So let's see, we got a reversal time here at 5:14, and then 6:20 is when it would allow signals to come through, right? And then our next reversal here is at 6:30ish. So there, the overnight session, there's no signals, and here on this chart, let's see, when is this reversal? Yeah, at 2:52 p.m. and the signals will stop at 1 p.m. and this reversal here is at 2:52, so it stopped this reversal. Alright, Andrew, so your time session solver is what you want here. And you know, if let me kind of expand upon that. If let's say you have two different time periods you want to trade, and you know, I want to generate a lot more signals, so let me put this on, how about a 5 range? Yeah, there we go. That generates a lot of signals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build two different trading times during the day. So let's see, first 2 hours, regular trading hours. Let's see, what is that? Okay, so from 8:30 to 10:30 Central Time. So the way I'm going to have to do this is I'm going to have to take my two time solvers and plug them into an OR node. Alright, so we can see this time session solver, right? We can see here when it's in session. So we can see the times it will allow the trades to go through. And let's connect up this other one here. And let's find another, hopefully I have another session here for in evenings or something. Let's see. Now I'm just going to take a look at some of these sessions I already have built and take a look at the times. See if I can find one that works in the evening. Well, I guess I'll just build one real quick. let's see, new. You know, to put an underscore in the name so it puts it up on the top of the list. And there we go. All right. So, okay, so Monday, let's see, this is going to be Central Time, so I'll go from 1 p.m. To 3 p.m. All right, so there we go. We got Monday through Friday, another 2-hour window from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. All right, and I need to save that. Oh, I need to change this to Monday. And let me clear these out, do this right. Okay, there we go. Friday to Friday. Thursday to Thursday. Good, so I'll save that. That should save. Great. And alright, so I was accidentally working in this time session solver. So I put this back to the first 2 hours. This guy here, let me switch this over to that session template I just built. And there we go, second trading session. Alright, so this is our afternoon one. Click OK. And I'll have to go back a day. There we go. Yeah. Here, I'm going to change instruments. There's just not much of a gap during that evening session. So let's see if maybe oil will have a little more activity. All right. Well, it is what it is. Okay, so back to the logic. All right. So what I just did, right, was I built 2 time session solvers. One with trading hours in the morning, right, which is my first 2 hours in the morning, and then I built another time session template, which is my 2 hours of evening trading. So I'm going to plug them both into this OR node, and then we'll take a look at them on the chart. Right, so there we go. So that tells us. So what we're looking at is when the time session solvers will allow your trading logic, your BloodHound logic, to submit signals. And so now all I have to do is connect the OR node. Let me disconnect this guy. So remember, we need to have an AND node right in front of the result node, and then I can take my my two time solvers, connected in, and there we go, voila. Then it stops trading right during the noon time, and then picks back up in the evening, and then no trading overnight, and then it picks back up the next morning. All right, so Andrew, I hope that answers your question and a little bit more. So that was a good one. All right, so let's see, Mike. All right, so Mike is asking, can you measure swings and compare them to identify measured moves, or point me to a workshop that would help? Let me see, Mike. So Mike, I might need a little more detail on your question here. Can you measure swings and compare them to identify measured moves? Okay. Yeah, so Mike, you are probably familiar with a swing indicator that we have. Let me find a clean chart. All right. And let me put this on a different chart here. I think will illustrate better. All right, Mike, so I'm going to add on here SI swings, highs, lows. Right, so this indicator is kind of a modification of NinjaTrader's swing indicator. So it's a modification, of NinjaTrader's swing indicator. That works a little better with BloodHound logic and strategies. So I'm going to add this on here, and hopefully I still have my custom plot set up. Okay, yeah. So I had went in here and kind of modified these plot settings, so mine's going to look different. Mine may look different than yours, right? I went in here and kind of customized my plots to use this hash, to use the hashes, right? And then you just right click and set as default. So Mike, I take it, if you could give me a yes or no, right? I take it, are you wanting to measure the moves from one swing point to another swing point, or are you wanting to measure like where if price is is moving away from your previous swing point, you're wanting to check what this measured move is in between these swing points, so are you wanting to measure the move like in this area, or are you wanting to measure the move from here to here? That's kind of my question, but I guess I can show you some ways to do that. So from high to low. All right, so let me find here we go. So you're wanting this measured move, I take it. That's kind of what it sounds like. Let me scroll this forward. So Mike, is that correct? If you wanted to know what this distance is? Let's see. All right. yeah, so I think actually let's see, I think the indicator we want, now I haven't played with this a lot, but there's another indicator that we got from Dorshand. So let me say that, you know, this indicator and the SI swing indicator came from a good programmer up on Big Mike's. His name is Dorshand, and he actually wrote these indicators and allowed us to, you know, throw them, include them in, include them in, and then Jeremy kind of stripped out some of the stuff that BloodHound couldn't use. But the swing indicator, I'm going to throw this on the chart, has all kinds of great information added into it. So I'm going to remove the swings, highs, low indicator, and let me open up BloodHound, because only in BloodHound can you see all the data, the extra data that this SI swings provides. And actually, let me just add a new version of BloodHound on here. So I'm just going to start working directly on the logic tab here. Start a new one, and let's see, we'll just call this a swing we'll call it the measured move test. And I'm going to put a, let's see, how about I'm going to put a couple of solvers on here. I'll put the comparison and threshold. I'm going to take a look at the threshold one first, and then I need to take a look at the data that comes out of that SI swings indicator. Let's see. Alright, so as I drop the SI swings on here, so you look at all of these data series that are available in here. You know, and these data series were written, you know, for strategies. You know, all these data series were added to this indicator so that you know, so that you could get this data available into your strategy. Let's see. So swing length, swing duration. Yeah, I think swing length is maybe the one that we want. Swing, let's see, swing duration, I think that provides time. Swing length, I'm not sure if that's like the number of bars or if that's the actual difference in price. Alright, so Mike, yeah, so looks like Mike's getting it, but for the benefit of everybody else, let me try and get through this. Let's see, swing length. Okay, so I'll just pick the swing length and we'll see what we get here. And alright, so the next step is I'll put a 1 in the long value, and so next I kind of need to figure out what this length is here. So Alright, so we got 0.12 to about 0.68. So let's look for the threshold over 55. It's not working. Alright, let's count the bars here. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 8 bars. So let's see what happens if we put 8 in there. And if I put 9 in there. So the value, what I did is I kind of cycled through some numbers and I found out that, alright, so if I put, so at 17 what I'm doing is I'm looking at this bar here. I'm looking at BloodHound's output of this bar right there. Alright, I'm looking for when the output, this long output reached 100%. And so every time I adjusted this, right, so if I knock this up to 18, right, you can see how this output, the output here dropped down just a tad bit. And in fact, here's a better way of doing it. Watch. So we can read the flag now. So this flag says 0.94 when we're at a value of 18. And if I lower it down to the value of 17, we can see it reached 1 or 100%. So what that's telling me is that the value in that data series I selected in this swing length is 17. It's 17. Let's see, we do have the swing price, and I know that this feeds back the price of the previous swing point. Alright, that feeds back the price of this previous swing point. So let me try. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure why we're getting 17. I have to look inside the code to see what that actually is feeding back. So let me try a different way using the comparison solver. And put the swings in there. And I'm going to use the swing price here. And now what I'm going to have to do, alright, is the indicator is going to give you the data for the previous point. So if I want to look at the data that's back, you know, like 2 swing points back, I'm going to have to use this displacement feature here. So hopefully, I'm thinking 5 ought to do it. Let's see. Actually, before I do that, let me do some more testing here. Let's do some more testing using this threshold solver. And I'm just going to set this to 1. I'm going to go back into the indicator. So I'm doing some testing right now. I want to see when we're actually getting price, when we're getting some kind of value in this data series. So let me, all right, good. So we're always getting some kind of value in that data series. So now let's do another little test here. Let's, what is this price here? 92.68. So let me put 92.65 in there. See what happens. That's not giving me the value I expected. Gosh, I thought that was going to have the price data in it, but it doesn't look like it is. You know, and so the test that I'm doing here, so you can explain what I'm doing, is I put, you know, a value of 95, which should be, you know, on the instrument price, a value of, you know, right, $95. And so my thought was that, you know, if this indicator is giving us the swing price, then it should be feeding us, you know, the price of the swing point. Like, for example, the swing point here, you know, which is 92.54. I thought the indicator was supposed to feed that price data. And of course, if I set my threshold, oh, hold on here. There we go. Okay. That makes sense. So I did is I put it in a digital type format. Yeah, what I noticed was when this was 0, look at our output. It's 0.975. So the threshold solver was interpolating between 95 and 0. And since price is at 92.63, that's 97.5% between 0 and 95. So let's see, 90. The strange thing is that no, of course, oh. Here we go. Alright, now I'm getting something that makes sense to me. Alright. Good. So you can see my threshold values. Remember, you have to go in descending order here. Alright, so I just put some values here in descending order. And the way I'm using my output is right at 92 or less. So I can find out when these swing points are at 92 or less. And look, this swing point right here is less than 92. It's 91.99. And as soon as this swing point was detected by the next bar, luckily this next bar moved up so high that this low point was then detected on the next bar. And so the threshold solver gave me a long output when the swing point was at 92 or less. So that did work correctly. And so I can say I can see from this threshold solver that this swing point's price value, the swing point's price, lasted for all of these bars. And so essentially what happened was on this bar here, oops, alright, let me get that arrow on there. On this bar, what happened was price moved down enough that this swing point was detected. And so now the indicator would be feeding us this swing point price, this swing price right here, which is higher than 92, and so therefore the threshold solver stopped providing an output. Alright, so that little bit of testing, told me that the swing price is providing the price of the swing points. Great, so let me kind of go back to this comparison solver, what I was trying to do. So the ultimate goal here is we're trying to kind of identify some of these measured moves. So if you want to identify some long measured moves, then let's try this little test. So I'm going to let's see if we have a move. Alright, here's a really long move. So this is 92.11. Wow, up to 92.71. So that's a 60-cent move. So let's look for a move that's, it says, say 50 cents or more. And bingo, there we go. You know, I can even bump this up to, say, 59, right? So I like nice round even numbers, so let's put this back to 50. So what I just did is I just detected a measured move of 50 ticks or more, or 50 cents or more. And so we had to wait until price moved down far enough for this high point to be detected. And so that occurred right on this bar. And so as soon as price moved down far enough on this bar, that's when this swing point was detected. And we were able to determine that it was a 50-cent move. Let's scan through here and see if there's any more 50-cent moves. Yep, here you go. So this move to the downside was more than 50 cents. And it was detected on this bar here. And the same goes right here. This move was more than 50 cents. Alright, so let's see, so Mike, alright, I see a bunch of kind of comments in here from Mike, so let me kind of look through these and see if there's any other any other part of this question I need to answer for Mike. Alright, high to low. Oh, okay, so Mike is saying a measured move is a swing against a trend that when they are equal in magnitude indicates a resumption of trend. Alright, yeah, so let's see, if you're trying to kind of measure a retracement, so if you could kind of say, hold on, let me find a better point here. Yeah, so you could, looking at the bigger picture, you could kind of say we're in an uptrend, and so if you're trying to measure this move against the trend, this is one way you could, oops, let me click back on the comparison solver. So, if you wanted to find, measured moves, most likely I would say if you would want to find, you'd probably want to use an ATR. You'd probably want to find ATR measured moves. That way it kind of fits in with that way your measured move adjusts to the volatility of the instrument. So let's see if this retracement here, what this kind of ATR value, that retracement is that I have circled. Oops. And so I can tell that, yeah, this pullback here is at least one ATR. So by this long signal here. Or if you wanted to, you could let's see, I could measure the closing price. So if I wanted to measure kind of like each bar, if I wanted to measure each one of these bars, the closing price to the swing point value here. Let's see, let me shrink up my chart so I can expand price. There we go. So say I wanted to take this swing point price and find out when price moves so many ATRs away or so many ticks away. The way I could do that is in indicator A, you'll use the SI swings indicator, which we're getting this price value from, and then in indicator B, I could set it to the closing price. and let's see, 1 ATR. Hold on, let me set this back to tick so it's easy to see. I'm going to take it off of ATRs, put it on ticks, because it's easier for us to visualize ticks on a chart. Oops. Let's say we want to know when its price has moved 5 ticks away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, you know, that when you're working with swing points like this, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell when the swing point is actually identified. You know, so that's kind of one thing you have to be aware of, is knowing when your indicator detects that swing point. So let me let's see here. So I'm trying to think of an easy way to know when our swing points are detected. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. So 92.29. All right. So I'm going to set this to 92.29 and 92.29. Alright, let me drop this down one tick. Alright, there we go. So what I'm looking for, so you can see I have this set up so that when we're going to get a long signal when we're at 92.28 or greater. And so this high point was greater than 92.28, right? It was greater than this value here, 92.28. This swing point was greater, and this high point wasn't detected until we got down here, and this high point wasn't detected until we got to this bar here, which ended up being the last bar. So I was kind of using using this kind of pullback was kind of a bad example. Unfortunately, didn't work out too well because the swing point just detected this pullback so late. But you know, oh yeah. So here we go. So if we're looking at this pullback, let's take a look at this one. So if we're looking at this pullback here, you know, this one would work out better because we can see that at least our downtrend was detected on this bar. So then we could start measuring. So let's plug this comparison solver in. And let's see, I'm going to reverse my outputs here. Let's see, let me get this straightened out. Alright, so A, you remember indicator A is our swing point price. And what I'm trying to find is that when we get a pullback of 10 ticks from our swing point. So when let's see, so when A is our swing point price. So the square here represents, oops, for some reason I had to keep clicking on the toolbar twice. So the square represents A, and so over here on the solver we have when A, let's see, yeah, so when A is greater than B, B's are going to be our closing price by, actually we want 10 ticks, so let's get that updated. There we go. So that updated it. So when A is greater than B by 10 ticks, we want a long output. And so there we go. That's how we were able to determine when price was 10 ticks, basically 10 ticks below. I'm trying to draw a line here. When price is 10 ticks below this swing price. And let me just draw a line. So right here, right? So from this white line to this white line is 10 ticks. Let's see if I adjust it to 7 ticks. Yep, there we go. So now we're able to determine when price pulled back 7 ticks or more. So Mike, I hope that kind of gives you a lot to go off of. Yeah, all right, good. Thank you, Mike. All right, guys. I'll say everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.